did this turn into Beautiful World? When did this turn into I Love
Excuse
You?
me, Mr. Scarpinato, is it?
Oh, yes. Hi, thank you for coming in to see me.
Quite alright, I'm actually just doing my job. Now, about your test results.
Are they bad? Did I pass? Oh, I knew I should have studied.
It's not that kind of test, son. Now, before we dig into these, could you give me a brief description of some of your symptoms, please?
Oh, sure. Well, I keep getting these spontaneous headaches. I got chills.
And are they multiplying?
No, sir, just the one. Sorry to have misspoke.
No worries, just want to be thorough.
And, there's just one more thing. What is it? Oh, yeah. The insatiable and ironic desire to both create perfect content while also lacking the ability to do nearly anything on time. But that figures. I mean, funny enough, I was even born late. So.
Please no laughing, son, I'm trying to focus.
Oh.
Well, from what I've gathered thanks to your information, I've concluded that between the headaches, the lack of timeliness, and the general sad way about you, you've been trying to work on way too many videos at once. I mean, the sleepless nights, the over-intake of coffee and caffeine, what you're doing to your body is borderline reckless behavior.
Wow. Doc, I had no idea that I've been overworking myself. I mean, I just wanted Happy Foo Year to be the best that it possibly could be. But I ended up completely shutting down and choosing to play video games and eat hockey instead. Now I'm here, completely stressed out, and it's all my fault. Is there anything I can do to rectify this?
Well, I'm glad that you're finally willing to listen to reason. Now, I'll be prescribing you Hey, are you working on another video? Hey, stop that right now! Hey, get back here!
What up, y'all? Welcome back to another installment of Happy Foo Year, a retrospective looking back at every single recorded Foo Fighters album to help celebrate the band's 25th anniversary. My name is Nick, and I am officially on the lam, as it were. So don't you say a f***ing word or I'll pee in your socks. For those of you not caught up with the rest of the series, I'll be sure to link it up in the little eye icon up here. But with that being said, let's just dig into it.
Okay.
So the year is 2021, and 25-year-old Nick is still trying to find some friendly pirates to just sing some sea shanties with. All they ever want is my booty. Arr! Amidst the global pandemic and general reign of terror that COVID-19 has wrought upon the world, things aren't looking super great for everyone. But among the countless byproducts of this pandemic is the huge toll that the music industry is paying by artists not being able to travel to play gigs or record. And naturally, in the almost year of adjusting to COVID, some musicians with the appropriate resources have been able to put out new music, albeit at a slower rate, but even then, sometimes these collections of music aren't all that fans had hoped they'd be once they come out. The Foo Fighters are among many artists who planned on releasing new music in the year 2020, but ended up having to delay it even though they had started planning on recording this album years in advance. Similar to the trajectory that their last album took, throughout 2017 and 2018, the band extensively toured for their latest release, Concrete and Gold, and then decided that once the tour had wrapped up, they all needed to take a little break. And again, like the lead up to Concrete and Gold, that break didn't last very long, for as in 2019, Dave started to demo more new songs, the parts for which the rest of the band would fill in soon after. However, this is where the similarities to Concrete and Gold stop. From here on out, this new album would take on an identity of its very own, and one that was like no other Foo Fighters album that had come before it. This is the album Medicine at Midnight. So on top of being partially recorded and released during one of the least traditional years for music in the modern era, everything else we know about the album is also pretty odd. Using Concrete and Gold as a direct comparison, not only was Medicine at Midnight finished very quickly, but the tones for both the records themselves and the recording sessions were almost the exact opposite. For the sound of the album, whereas Concrete and Gold was mainly melancholy and serious, Medicine was touted very early on as the danciest record that the band had ever put out. Dave compared it to the David Bowie album Let's Dance, a sentiment that the rest of the Foos shared as they were all inspired by so many other bands who have put out up-tempo, almost danceable records for a rock band albums. And this definitely shows, as unlike the band's previous albums, Medicine only clocks in at about 36 minutes, the shortest runtime of any Foo album. This shorter runtime may be emblematic of the fact that most pop songs perfectly embody the phrase short and sweet. They stick around just long enough to not get boring, but pack as many many memorable lines and melodies in there as possible, so you're stuck singing them for the rest of the day. But that's not the only thing that sets this album apart from the others. The recording process of Concrete and Gold in particular was celebratory and collaborative, with plenty of guest artists popping in to lay down a track here and there, and join the band for barbecues and other festivities once the day had concluded. For Medicine though, the band recorded in a large, old Los Angeles house from the 40s, where strange and seemingly unexplained events would take place. Tracks that nobody recorded but still showed up during sessions and were just filled with room noise. Tracks would be missing, and the mixing board would be tampered with after the band and crew had gone home for the night. Spooky stuff, and spooky enough to completely warrant the band GTFOing as soon as they were done recording for the day. Luckily, the band and everyone involved is okay. Phew. No hauntings to report currently. And Medicine at Midnight has finally been released after all this time. But now that the album has been out for a week, does it live up to all the hype? Now, before I start, I'll just say this. I've listened to the album a couple of times, top to bottom, but I still don't think the songs have totally settled in my brain. It's only been a week, and until I've lived with it for just a little bit longer will I be able to definitively have a final word on it. But as far as my first impression goes, it's a pretty positive one. For starters, I think that this is the best sounding Foo Fighters album to come out in a really long time. Working again with producer Greg Kurstin ended up really paying off, because this album is full of neat little production hooks that bring some of these songs to an entirely new level. A level that I don't think they could have achieved on their own merits alone. Chasing Birds is the first song that comes to mind when I think about this. The production on that song and the way that it feels like a gentle breeze on my face as I swing through summer without a care in the world is pure magic. And I'm totally willing to overlook the sometimes cheesy lyrics that accompany songs like these because of it. But speaking of cheesy lyrics, Waiting on a War is a song that I just cannot get behind. For both the cheesy lyric issue and also another huge one that seems to plague other songs on this album as well. Build-ups, or more accurately, the issues surrounding the poor execution of them. Songs like Making a Fire and Cloud Spotter feature some neat background vocals and crowd moments, but they don't build up to a satisfying conclusion, despite providing moments that make you think that they will. I mean, we don't even get a definitive guitar solo until the 5th song in, and at that point we're more than halfway through the album. I wish those songs had more meat to them, but then we got songs like Holding Poison and Love Dies Young. To me, these are quintessential Foo Fighters songs, and seem to have the most in common sonically with the stuff off of Wasting Light. I mean, just look at these two album artworks and try to tell me that it's just a coincidence. Oh, what's that? Wasting Light just turned 10 this year? I rest my case. Court adjourned! Shame Shame is still just okay, and still stands out as the most unique song to come off this album, but not really in a good way. I mean, it's so dark and brooding and kind of kills the whole party vibe that the rest of the album has going. And I guess that just comes from my expectations of Medicine at Midnight being this super dancey record that the band said it would be. However, at the end of the day, however you feel about it, the album doesn't overstay its welcome, and when it's great, it's great. A solid entry into the pantheon of Foo Fighters albums, and an experience that feels so uncharted yet so familiar for the band. But I want to hear what you think. Be sure to let me know what your thoughts are and what your favorite songs off this album are in the comments below. Which songs off this album will you be most excited to hear live once the world opens up? And which songs on this album will you be using as an excuse to go get another beer or go to the bathroom? Be sure to let me know, and be sure to stick around for both my cover of a song off this album and my conclusion to Happy Foo Year, which will be a retrospective of the retrospective. And
Nick Scarpinato, you are wanted for escaping a hospital. Come out with your hands up.
Well, that's my cue. Be sure to stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you in the next one.
Freeze, dirtbag!
You'll never catch me alive!